An unlikely place to look for a scare when talking about video games would definitely be the point-and-click genre. This type of mouse-controlled adventure emerged in the 80s and became popularized by the legendary LucasArts in the 90s, and is still a favorite amongst different generations of gamers today. However, the point-and-click is predominantly known for comedic elements and mind-boggling puzzles. No one goes into a point-and-click adventure expecting a scare. However, this all changed earlier this year with Five Nights at Freddy's. This indie survival horror video game puts you in the shoes of a security guard who works nights at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Throughout the night shift, the guard has to defend himself from malfunctioning animatronic animal robots. Facing these creatures will surely make you jump off your seat. The game requires the player to stay alive for just under 9 minutes. The animatronics pose quite a challenge, seeing as they will cunningly move through the building whenever the player isn't looking through the security cameras. Praised by critics, the game has been labeled the scariest game in years. Reading about it surely can't convey the full experience. The chills are something you can feel only when you've entered that nightmarish restaurant yourself. First Encounter Assault Recon, simply known as Fear, is a horror-themed first-person shooter game loved by many because it doesn't only offer a proper scare, but proper action as well. The fictional Special Forces team, which the game is named after, is called in to contain a supernatural phenomenon, and that's where the action-packed horror show takes off. Fear is one of the most heart-stoppingly scary games released to this day. Uncovering the secrets of a supernatural menace in the shape of a little girl, even the bravest horror lovers get guaranteed chills. The aspect which separates Fear from other games which aim to shock is the incredible atmosphere of dread and gloom, which captures the player and traps him in a chilling world of tension, mystery, and danger. The narrative of the game managed to create a perfect balance of ambiguity and transparency, giving the players enough clues to keep them going, but not quite enough to keep them off their toes. Apart from being a masterpiece in horror fiction, this game is also a decent shooter action adventure, creating the perfect game which keeps players coming back for more. The Swedish independent company Frictional Games came up with their masterpiece Penumbra in 2007. The episodic survival horror series is still regarded as one of the best in the genre. The first of the trilogy, Overture, is quite possibly the best one, too. This thrilling first-person adventure blends horror and survival with the psychological thriller genre, offering the player a truly authentic experience. The game's main focus is a classic object interaction, collecting objects, observing them, and figuring out how they can be used to achieve your goal. What is interesting about this game is that it often presents the player with challenging physics-based puzzles. This way it manages to be not only entertaining, but also quite mind-boggling. Still, at its core, Overture is a game about dodging scary creatures from the darkness. For the most part, the best option for the player is to opt out of combat and run away and hide in the smartest possible way, exploring the environment while under stress because of the terrifying creatures that are about to get you makes Overture quite an experience for lovers of horror games. The unnaturally thin, tall, and blank-faced character known as Slender Man is quite certainly one of the internet's creepiest inventions. Slender the Arrival is the second game based on this popular character and is based on the viral hit Slender the 8 Pages. Similarly to its predecessor, the game takes place in various abandoned areas. Each one has a different objective, but what remains the same is precisely that which makes the whole thing so ghastly. The player is armed only with a flashlight, and on more than one occasion the smartest move is just to run, which adds to a general feeling of hopelessness and doom. The ghoulish Slender Man himself slightly alters his behavior between levels just to keep you alert and at your best. His general features, though, are the fact that he often lurks in the corners of the viewing field. There is also the ever-present discomforting fact that he is capable of teleportation. Brilliant static, blurring, and sound distortion moments make this experience something quite special. Although the game is pretty simple, it is this simplicity which makes it all the more scary when the screen starts playing tricks on you, or when your creepy enemy pops up out of nowhere. Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly is a game considered too scary for most players to finish. Are you up for the challenge? Originally released for PlayStation 2, this heart-stopping game has recently regained its popularity upon being re-released for PlayStation Network. A mysterious story about twins in a haunted village gives way to the scariest plots, involving sacrifice, tortured souls of the dead, creepy crimson butterflies, and a general abundance of ghosts and bloodthirsty spirits. In the shoes of one of the twins, the player's only actual weapon is a camera obscura, which is used as a means of documentation as well as a means of defeating the enemies. Namely, the ghosts can be defeated only by having their photo taken, but the trick is that they are only visible through the lens of the camera obscura itself. Throughout the game, the player monitors his character's condition via a health bar. This causes the player to often get sidetracked in order to heal, forced to collect various herbal medicine and sacred water in midst of a place swarming with malevolent spirits. This survival horror game is widely considered the scariest video game ever made. It was both created and takes place in Japan. It's the year 2508. The USG Ishimura is a ravaged, desolate interstellar mining ship, and you are the engineer, Isaac Clarke. Your duties are, however, not typical. You're not dealing with everyday problems. You're dealing with reanimated human corpses, the necromorphs. With weapons mostly improvised from mining tools, you make your way through the infested ship, combat the living dead, and solve puzzles. This, plus the outstanding atmospheric environmental design, make for one of the most original AAA survival horrors ever created. The game keeps you on edge and demands your full attention and a sharp eye. Unlike most games which involve a shootout, Dead Space is a challenge which requires your complete dedication, as you have to aim at particular body parts in order to actually bring your enemy down. With a filmic script, a meticulously designed setting, and excellent gameplay elements, Dead Space was released to favorable reviews from critics and great commercial success, making it one of the most successful horror games thus far. How many times have you watched a slasher horror movie with your friends and treated it as a joke? A supernatural bloodthirsty killer is trying to bring down a bunch of teenagers, and they are never capable of using the resources offered properly. Instead, they panic and constantly get into more trouble. This is a typical scenario. You and your friends have watched these movies and found them more comedic than frightening, mainly because of the sheer stupidity of the protagonists. And you always thought, I would know what to do. I would definitely get out of that situation. Well, now you have the opportunity to try your theories out and not be one of those people who talk the talk but don't walk the walk. Damned is a competitive multiplayer horror game which puts you in the shoes of a survivor, or at least a character trying to be one. In a dark and freaky virtual space, you and your friends will finally discover what it's like to be one of those kids facing creepy, life-threatening situations. And you'll find out if you are, in fact, one of those teenagers from the movies who just run, hide, and cry locked up in a cupboard. Outlast is a first-person survival horror video game which centers around a freelance investigative journalist played by you, in an environment aesthetically inspired by Spanish horror film REC. Outlast offers you an extreme terror experience and guarantees to leave you breathless, shaken up, and most importantly, completely engaged in the story, and mesmerized by the setting. As the player, your goal is to survive in a psychiatric hospital swarming with homicidal maniacs. Without any traditional weapons, you are expected to find ways to outwit your enemy by using parkour-like skills. Using the space as a playground, you will be jumping, crawling, and sliding for your life. Hiding under beds and inside staff lockers is also an option, but not a great one while encountering opponents of higher intelligence. The tools you actually have at your disposal are a notebook and a night vision camcorder. Ridiculously scary, Outlast is not recommended to the faint-hearted. Amnesia: The Dark Descent is one of the many masterpieces produced by the great Frictional Games. This survival horror video game is truly horror in its purest form, drawing the elements of suspense not only from what you can see, but from what you can only guess is lurking out there. The player is in the shoes of a protagonist called Daniel, who wakes up in a Prussian castle to a note from himself, explaining that he erased his own memory on purpose. Daniel knows he is being hunted, and he trusts his own instincts to go exploring the ghastly hallways of the castle in search of the Baron, who he must kill. During the game, the player is kept on his toes as he searches the castle, solves challenging puzzles, and fights to survive amidst a range of monsters, all along discovering his own storyline. Like in previous Frictional Games creations such as the famous Penumbra, the player isn't given any means of attacking the enemies which hunt him. So in a lot of cases, the creepiness of the situation is boosted by a feeling of helplessness and hopelessness, as the player has to figure out cunning ways to hide. The player is often put to the test by having to decide whether he will risk hiding in the shadows, which eats away at your sanity. Quite thrilling and at some moments bizarre, Amnesia: The Dark Descent makes for some quality entertainment to those who like to experience a bit of terror here and there. To say that Silent Hill 2 is simply a masterpiece when it comes to the world of gaming is nothing but pure objectivity. a high-quality game, and a unique gaming experience. Silent Hill 2 offers all that and then some. Without a doubt, it takes the gold when it comes to the horror game competition. The game features a third-person view with various camera angles, which offers a good look at the masterful environment the storyline develops through. The player character, James Sunderland, searches for his wife through the visually stunning, monster-filled town of Silent Hill. And on his journey, he has a taste of everything: mystery, puzzles, riddles, and full-on combat. What makes the game powerful is the fact that it isn't based on cheap scares or shock tactics. Silent Hill 2 offers an intense type of horror which gets into your bones and makes you feel irrational fear in the comfort of your own bedroom with all the lights on. The town of Silent Hill draws on the psyche of its visitors and changes accordingly, which gives the game a whole new layer: the exploration of the human psyche. This fact makes the game mature with a particular weight to it that other games lack. On top of that, it offers a perfectly ghoulish story, giving lovers of horror a bit more than they bargained for.